Good morning, everybody, and happy Easter Sunday morning to everyone. I hope everybody's having a good morning. I'm Nighthawk, one half of your host today for the Sunday Paranormal Morning Coffee Talk Hour. So, we're going to get into the disclaimer, and we actually have planned today a basically the having the viewing family come in and tell their encounters and stuff on air. They don't have to turn their mics on, or I mean their cameras on. Okay, we can leave the cameras off. So if you don't have your makeup on or your hair done and all that, not looking all handsome with a shaven face, then you don't have to worry about it. Just leave your camera off. Okay, and we can still see your little box that you'd be in, like the Brady Bunch, and hear your voice. Okay, and that's all that really matters. But we're doing this today to kind of help out everybody, to give them an opportunity to get it off their chest and to know that they're not alone. Okay, and it goes from everything from paranormal to supernatural encounters to cryptid encounters. I myself, I've got several encounters that the amount of activity around us and the amount of encounters that people don't talk about, even if it's just a bizarre or mysterious thing that you have no idea what happened, is overwhelming to a lot of people. And it does help to just talk about it amongst friends and family. And that's what we're here for today. Okay. So that being said, we're going to get into the disclaimer and get into the main part of the show. Copyright disclaimer is this channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it falls under the fair use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel declare fair use of any and all content, that's all content, including the music, to be used for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and entertainment value under the Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known herein as the fair use. Okay, so that being said, also Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel uses the U-Cut editing app, intro and outros, which allows us full permission the music from the music library that they have on hand. So, that being said, let me see here. I don't know why. Let me unmute the mic for Eric here.
Oh, I muted
What
it
the heck?
because I was
It
doing
won't let
something
me
behind the
unmute your
scenes while
mic.
you were
Oh,
doing
there
your
it goes. Okay.
yeah. I muted it because I'm
Oh, okay.
multitasking here.
All right. Now, when aren't you?
Yeah,
Let me go
yeah,
into the
that's
chat and say good morning to everybody and happy Easter. And happy Easter to everybody today, too. Okay. Um, I know Eric's been talking to everybody in the chat, and I'm just going to go in and say hello to everybody and let everybody know that we acknowledge them. And let's see here if I can get the chat to slow down. Okay, let's see. We've got Joanne. Carl, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And we got that bizarre and unknown guy. Then we got Roxanne. And we got Urso in the house. Good to see you, Urso. Misty, good to see you. All right, let's see here. Tanya, great to see you. Okay, let's see. Candy, good to see you. Yes, smash that thumbs up, folks, if you would, please. That helps with the algorithm.
and hit them heart buttons.
Ryan, good to see you. Yeah. Let's see. Ida, Lori, good to see you. All right. Let's see. Who else? Man, we got everybody in here this morning. I figured everybody'd be Easter egg hunting.
Oh,
Rhonda,
yeah.
good to see you. Kyle, good to see you. David, good to see you. I'm sure Melissa's listening. All right, let's see here. What else we got? I think that's everybody for the time being. If I missed anybody, I apologize, but the chat is already moving really fast. Oh, man. Anyways, we were going to have people come on today to talk about their encounters and stuff, or if they've done any investigations on stuff they found. And I know you've done quite a bit at your place, Eric, and I was going to give you the opportunity to talk too today about that. So I can give my voice a rest and my lungs a rest and my overall throbbing headache a rest.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I'll pop in periodically, but I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can go ahead and start the conversation and see if anybody wants to come in the chat. I'll put the link in the chat if somebody wants to come in. We need to do it as a one on, one off type of a thing. So whoever comes on first, when they sign off, we'll bring the next person on. Okay.
Heck yeah. So I mean, you guys that's been following me for a while know I've had some um I've ran into a lot of interesting stuff throughout my life, man. Um, I've been chasing these things for a long time, and it's amazing now what I found last weekend, like we covered on my show last night. I mean, I found some really interesting stuff last night too. A lot of stuff that begs the question: what am I looking at, and what am I dealing with? Um, Gosh dang it, this thing's being a pain in the butt. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. So I'll have to do it on my phone. But we've had vocalization here, roars. Um, if I'm not chatting, it's okay, Kyle. You're here, and that's what matters, man. You know, it's always good to see you guys in here. Um, from my very first paranormal experience at 3 years old, when my grandmother literally picked me up off the top. I was curled up in a ball because all the strange noises going on at the top of the stairs, waiting on my mom and my half brother's dad to come up, which he was the only dad I knew for a very long time because my sperm donor left when I was 2 months old. And to this day, he still don't claim me. And he's sitting in an all male medium security federal prison in Quincy, Illinois with a parole date of 2050. So, and he still don't claim me. So the only dads I ever knew in my life was my half brother's dad, who sadly departed this realm, and my stepdad that I have now. So, we were living in the house in Cudmore in St. Joe, Missouri, where I was born and spent a good part of my life in St. Joe, which I can tell you, St. Joe, there's a lot of history in St. Joe, a lot of paranormal in St. Joe too. Hey, Kyle, I ain't worried about it. That's his own damn problem. That's not mine. I gave him a chance. You know, So we're sitting in that house. Of course, I'm the oldest brother, and this was way before Mom got married. So it was just me, her, my half brother's dad, and my half brother was a baby back then. And so I got scared, and I fell asleep, curled up on the top of the stairs because I was waiting on them to come up because I didn't want to be alone. I mean, all these noises that I was hearing. Hey, Daryl. All these noises I was hearing, at 3 years old, that scared the crap out of me. And
hey, Daryl.
So I remember being woken up, floating in the air, and I didn't recognize who this woman was.
Thanks, Carl.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Roxanne. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know what it is about St. Joe. I don't know if it's because all the lives lost there. I don't know if it's because of all the history that's there or if there's something else there. But I mean, the Missouri River flows right through St. Joe. And that could be why, but there is tons and tons and tons of paranormal activity there. It is very rampant in paranormal, but there is also, like I said, a lot of history there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember waking up having this strange woman carrying me and holding me in her arms, saying, "Eric, I love you. I'm always going to be there for you, and I'm always going to protect you." So when I was born, my lungs were pushed together. So I had to be shooken 24/7 to stay alive. If I wasn't being shaken, I could not breathe. And so my mom and her mom took turns throughout the day and night shaking me to keep me alive. Uh, yeah, yeah, that is definitely one, Roxanne. Yeah. Um, and then of course my grandmother was a smith, and this is a little touchy. I've talked about my Smith family and all the stuff they're into. They were very deep into dark magic, and when I tell you I know the outcomes of what happens when you mess with this stuff, this is an outcome. My grandmother had lost her sanity, couldn't deal with the pain and the suffering no more. And when I was 2, she took her own life. And that's that's what happens when you deal with dark magic. Eventually, that stuff consumes you and takes over you. Um, but apparently, she didn't
Right.
pass on because she was still had a very strong connection to me for some reason. And she came to me in the afterlife wanting to, yeah, yeah, not wanting to let anything happen to me still, even after she took her own life. Well, fast forward a couple years, still dealing with this stuff, still dealing with these noises. I tried to convince my brother. My brother at this time was like, he was 2 or 3 years old at this time. He was still up and walking, but he could talk. He just couldn't talk the greatest. And I tried to convince him to go into the attic, which the attic in these style home. Oh crap! I'm sorry. I thought I had that on silent. The attic in these style homes was beside the bedrooms. So one portion of the upstairs was an attic. The other portion was bedrooms. In between the bedrooms was the stairs, and the attic went from one side of the top of the house to the other side. And I tried to talk my little baby brother and going in there. Of course, he wouldn't do it. He was petrified. He wouldn't do it. So, of course, me being me and me being big brother is, oh, you're too scared to do it. And he's like, well, you won't do it, so I'm not going to do it. I said, I'll do it. And I went around to the other end of our bedroom, which the main opening, I mean, we had a doorway for that attic there in our room, but on the other end was open. And the doorway right there at the entrance of our bedroom, right next to where the stairs came up, was small, but it was an opening. It was just easier to go to the other end of the bedroom and go into the opened wall spot. And I go in there and I see that woman that had me picked up when I was younger floating in the air. She was bluish and whitish color, floating. Her hair was floating like she was in water. And she held her arms out, to embrace me, going, Eric, I love you. I'm always going to be here for you, and I'm always going to protect you. Now, she was wearing buckskin style top and dress, the old Western. Remember the Western clothings from the 60s and 70s? Um, I have to give breastplate. Thank you, Carl. Um, got She was wearing those. Anybody from that time frame knows what Western outfit I'm going to talk about. It was buckskins, had the fringes on there. She had the jacket with the dress, all had the fringes on it and stuff like that. Scared the holy living shit out of me, and I ran out of that attic, ran downstairs to my mom. Now, my mom for years and years and years told me that it was all my imagination because I seen a scary movie. And for years and years and years and years, I kept telling people, I know what I saw. I know what I saw.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood. Got half of the pill starting to take away tomorrow. Having some close calls and see. Oh no, will be law. Will be the
Jonathan,
last
good to see you.
measure. Hey, Jonathan. Man, that's. I'm sorry you guys are going through that kind of stuff, Kyle. Um.
Yeah, Kyle.
So. Um. Finally, fast forward several years, we're down here where we're at, where I'm at now, and me and mom was in actually in this place here back in the dining room and talking, and I told mom, I said, the one thing that bothers me is all these years I told you that that woman in St. Joe, um, and you always told me I was, it was all in my head. But mom, I still remember that to this day. It's clear as day. If it was in my head, why do I still remember the touch, the sound, everything? I mean, to a T. She goes, well, what was she wearing? And I told her what she's wearing, which I've told her before, and I seen the expression on her face when I told her years before. But and it took her back and it upsetted her, and I've never mentioned it again. So I told her again what she was wearing. She goes, "That was your
Hmm.
grandma, my mom's mom. That's what we buried her in. Was that outfit? That was her favorite outfit." So finally, 30
Hmm.
some odd years later, I got closure between mom and me on that subject. I mean, that was something that lingered with us for a long
Hmm.
time because
That's
mom rebuked it. You know, but towards the end of my
yeah.
mom's life, she became more understanding, more open about her experiences. That's when we started talking more about the dark magic from the Smith side of my family. She finally broke down and told me what happened to my grandfather because he made a deal with Lucifer, that he went insane before he died. He was at one point thinking he was the prophet. He was a prophet, and it said it in the Bible that he was a
Mhm.
prophet. I mean, the guy lost his mind. And I never really got to.
Right.
I've seen him maybe two or three times total in my entire life that I remember, because he went insane,
Right.
and mom didn't want him around us.
Right.
He was very violent. He
Hmm.
was a psychopath. I mean, he was nuts.
Well,
And
when I was a child, we had my mom had a chair in the bedroom that was
mhm,
specifically set aside at the side of the bed that she called the devil's chair. And that
mhm,
was where the devil would sit and have conversations with her about her dark magic. So,
yep,
I mean, it's, that darkness is a real thing, guys. So
it
when
is.
people like Eric and myself and anybody else in the chat come forward and talk about that stuff, it puts a hammer to you, man. It beats you up. It makes you question your own insanity. You know, but it's
Hmm.
true. Those
Yeah.
forces are there. You know. Go ahead, Eric. Continue.
Uh, but that from that moment on, I've always questioned: is the reason why I see things that other can't see, feel things that others can't feel, is that tied to the cursed bloodline from that side of my family? Now, my Testament side of my family are Mormons. Um, Luckily, I wasn't raised in that order. My side of the family, my grandma and grandpa were kicked out of the Mormon order, because grandma got on birth control after her seventh kid, and grandpa quit paying his tithes, so he got a plug nickel, and they were expelled from the Mormon order. and no longer allowed in. So I
Mm,
wasn't raised in it. I was
right.
raised around it because my family, my Testament family was Mormons. And then throughout the years,
Right.
half of my Testament family became modern day Mormons, where the other half are still traditional Mormons. So, I grew up being disliked because I was not a part of the community. I was a black sheep.
Hmm.
I wasn't a real Testament because I was not a Mormon and I would not follow the Mormon way.
Huh.
Hey, Van. So, I
Well,
mean,
that does,
I knew.
that's that's so sickening, because to put a label on somebody, especially someone that young, is
Mhm.
not right, and what
Oh, yeah.
that does to you is it just turns you more off towards, you know the rest of the family, and it's sad, because
Hmm.
I even had that separation. I still to this
Hmm.
day have separation from family that I don't communicate with because of what I went through, and what I put
Hmm.
them through too. I mean, it was a two-way street. I wouldn't have been introduced to the violence and to the torture and stuff, and to the dark arts, if it wasn't for certain parts of my family. So, and I'll just leave
Yeah,
it at that.
I'm fine, buddy. I'm just telling a story. Come on, I'm fine. Come here. He sensed me being a little upset. Um, so there was,
Yeah.
some of my family that we were very close with. My great grandpa, Louis Eugene Testerman. I miss that man every day. I mean, I miss that man so much. He was a storyteller. He loved telling stories
I
about our
do. I,
family's history. You know, he was just very, very big in there, big into that, very big in learning your history. He always says, "Boy, it's important to know where your family comes from," and that's where I've always gotten that mentality from was from him. And man, I remember going to great grandpa's
right.
house, sitting there while he was sitting in his comfy chair, and I was sitting Indian style on the floor, just man, my attention was fully on Grandpa because he was telling stories of our family, family history and where we come from and what we done. And he's like, you take pride in who your family is, boy, and that's just how he was. And he was a very big influence on me going into the Marine Corps. Um, Very big influence on that. He was Army Air Corps. um, he lied about his age, um, and went into the Army Air Corps. And when I was young, I always wanted to be in the Air Force to be a fighter jet pilot. And because Grandpa, was in the Army Air Corps, and he looks at me one day. We were
Right.
eating biscuits and gravy. Grandma made biscuits and gravy, and I missed her biscuits. Man, that woman, I have never found anybody who can make biscuits like that woman can. She made them so good, and they were homemade from scratch. You can freeze them and pull them out and still cook them, and they flaked apart. They were so fluffy. Um,
Hmm.
it was just I remember that, Tracy. Um, but to this day I remember that stuff, and she would always, well, what do you boys want to eat? Biscuits and gravy, Grandma. Biscuits and gravy. We wanted her biscuits and sausage gravy. And so we were sitting there and we ate our breakfast, and Grandpa was drinking his coffee, and us boys were drinking our orange juice. And I remember him coming to me, hey Michelle, talking to us one morning, and goes, uh, he goes, life is. I'm trying to remember how the word he says it. It's a big part of my life. But basically, I can't remember how he said it from word to word. But he says life is full of changes, and life is full of unexpectations. Family is the most important thing, and you should always honor your family name. Your family name carries weight. Your family name has pride, and you should always be proud of who you are. Don't ever change who you are. Learn from your past and learn from the good and bad and improve on your family name. You just always hold your family name with pride.
Exactly.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah. When
a lot of stuff I
and
learned.
it's
Hey, Marty.
it's difficult enough. It's difficult enough when you're struggling with family though, and your ties to family, to hold it with pride. But yeah, that teaching principle is something that should be learned in everybody. You know, so
Mm,
that's a noble thing.
yeah, my grandpa made cat head biscuits straight out of the flour bowl. Or your grandma? Yeah, man. Grandma Testerman. Um, hey, Deidre. God, man. You
Yeah,
know,
Deidre.
my mom, my mom was a good cook. My mom was a good baker. Sadly, that never got passed down to me on the baking side of it. I still try, but I one of my biggest regrets before mom passed away was I didn't spend more time learning from her.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Yeah.
and now she's gone.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, that's understandable, man. That's understandable. Just
Ah,
that's something that we all unfortunately have to experience. And when you don't have that that time to gain back, that's what makes it hard and makes it
mm,
hurt. Wish I would have, not learned the bad stuff of parts of my family. I wish I would have learned, like like the baking and stuff, and how to do the pies and the biscuits and the gravy and all that. And it's it's something that we regret as young adults that we never followed up on with our moms and our dads. Um,
mm,
but we still have memories of that being done, and that's probably the most precious thing to us right now as far as our human
yeah,
spirit goes. um
yeah,
so that's a good thing. And that's what they say you got to hold on to is the good memories. Unfortunately,
yeah.
I didn't have very many good memories, especially when I was young. So I hold on to those memories. There was so much tragedy that happened in our family so. But yeah, our signal's really getting messed with right now with the internet. The solar flares must be acting up. Either that or it's the forces not wanting
Well,
us to talk about it. But
yeah,
anyways, it's all right. I mean, I'm there's so many things we need to learn in this life, and
yeah,
for us to learn it all, it would almost be impossible. It really would. So just cherish
mm,
what you can in the meantime, and try to learn from your mistakes, and that's all you can do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's pretty
And that's
much
the
it.
thing as a parent, we try to teach our kids the mistakes we made so they don't repeat them. But sadly, I know more so in my family than anything is we like to repeat mistakes because we're stubborn and hard headed. Um, but yeah, sorry guys, I had to recompose myself here for a second. But so dealing with death and
It's all right.
ghost in my life, I've been dealing with that stuff since I was 3. Hey Ray. Um,
All right.
Schwartz be with you. Hell yeah, I love that movie. Oh,
Let the sports be with you.
it's I've dealt with it now. I mean, and I've always questioned. I've told you guys my bloodline. I've got Cherokee, Comanche, Lakota, German, Irish, Scottish, Norwegian, and Dane blood in me. Of course, my primary is Dane and Norwegian. Um, but a lot of my family members on all sides is tied to the supernatural. Um, be it they called seers, be it they called medicine men, whatever it is. I mean, chiefs. We're great warriors. All my bloodline is great warriors. So I've always wondered: is that why I see the things that I see? Is this why I have the cryptid activity that I have? Do I see the supernatural the way that I do? Um, is this why I see paranormal the way I do? Because of, I'm a firm believer that stuff is passed down through the bloodline. And regardless of if you know about it or not. Hey, Vicky. Um, Good night, Irene.
Oh, I don't know.
um, yeah. Um, I've always questioned that, and I've been a believer that that gets passed down. Um, Now, where does that stuff come from? I don't know. Um, I really
Right.
don't know where that comes from, but I'm a firm believer it is passed down, and because my children are in tune to it. My oldest, on a day of weakness not too long ago, finally admitted on this stuff, and I had to have her. I had to have a talk with her about it and let her know. But I think she's like me in some ways. When I was younger, very very scared of this. Didn't want to talk about it. It was hush hush because she didn't want people to. She don't want people to think she's weird. I mean, I know that because
Hi,
I literally
Michelle.
lived with that for, uh, so many days of my life. Um, so she, in a moment of weakness, had came and called me and talked to me about it, and I had to have a talk with her. I was like, "Look, your life's going to be different, but there's some things." I said,
Right.
I'll teach you how to manage it. I'll teach you how to take care of it, and how to use it properly. I never had a teacher. I learned the hard way. And because of that hard way, I've had a lot of bad stuff happen. And the other sad side effect to this bloodline and this stuff is we've talked about on here many times is curses. And curses get passed down through bloodline too.
Hmm.
I know because I live with one every single day. Um, the
Yeah.
curse that I live with that was put upon my family that's been passed down through the bloodline is we live a life of hardship and struggle. And man, I fight and fight and fight every day to break that curse. And it's hard. When you get a
Hmm.
generational curse like that put on you, it's hard to get rid of that. I've gotten better. I've been more resistant to it, but I still, in moments of weakness, it comes on. So this is why we, like one of the
Right.
reasons, and I'm sure my brother here will agree, is why we talk to you. Be careful on what you say and do, because you can curse somebody unwillingly, or you can curse somebody knowingly. You have the power of, your
Exactly.
words are spell casting, and this is examples of why I tell you guys this. Be careful what you say because I literally live with a curse every day.
Yep.
Every day of my life is a struggle. It's a fight. I can't keep a good relationship. I can't. I have a hard time with money because money will come in and I'll be doing good, and then something happens and it goes away. Like I pay off bills. 2 days after paying off bills, my transmission goes out. This is an actual curse that
Well,
happened.
money is, yeah.
Yeah.
When they say money is the root to all evil, it's true, because money is a curse in itself. Because anytime we put monetary value on something, we're giving precedence to putting things before humanity's right to exist, and the freedom of expressing, our concern for one another. It's always comes down to the money, you know, and that's what ruins this world, this walk, is the fact that the powers that be put such a monetary value on everything, that they separate the masses with classes and incomes and stuff, just like we talked about yesterday. And it's just a way of manipulation. That's why if we ever got back to the gold standard and stuff, and the silver, to back money, it'd be a lot better, because at least people could have the. Oh, come on.
Yeah, I can't get rid of that one. They don't give you an option. It must be something that pops up through that
All right,
Twitch.
I don't know who's doing that on Twitch, but I'm going to have to eliminate. I'm going to eliminate Twitch. So hold on.
Yeah. So, but this is why we tell you guys this stuff. I don't know that side of life like my good brother William does. I just know from an outsider looking in and seeing what happened to family and dealing with, living with it the way I live with.
All right, I got rid of Twitch.
I never partake. Okay. And so that's why I love listening to William talk about this stuff, because he lived it. He performed it. I mean, he was a part of it. Or I was an outsider experiencing it and seeing it. So you have two different perspectives of what's going on with this type of stuff. And I think that's why, you and me hit it off the way we do on this stuff, is because we have two different angles looking at the same thing. It's like we always talk about when our ancestors would find something to discuss, they would sit in a circle and they see it at one view. And then they would take up and get a break and come back and sit in a different spot and see it from a different view. You have to look at things from a different view. And that's, we have different views on stuff, different outlooks on stuff. And that's what makes us, I think, what makes us, as good as we are. Oh, my coffee's about out.
Yep, true. And Urso, that's a very true statement too. There, what Urso says.
Yeah,
11:33 a.m. mark.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So. But yeah, I mean,
as far as I go, I'm gonna go ahead and just put it out there. I've got the link in the chat ready to go in the chat again. So if anybody wants to come on, just let Eric and I assign you a number to come on, and we'll go from there. Okay, and we'll have you on, and. You can tell your encounter or your mysterious encounter, or whatever you have, whether it's paranormal, cryptid. It could be anything, supernatural, lights in the sky. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I experienced growing up. In fact, I'll tell you one too. Back in '87, I was working at a haunted house in October. And it was a JC's haunted house, and it was on a back country road in an old barn, and the barn and the property was said to be haunted. And weird stuff always happened. Things would turn up missing, and you'd see shadows and stuff like that move around. But one of the strangest things that happened was one of the last nights that we closed up at like 2:30 in the morning. I was driving my pickup truck with my two buddies in it, and we were driving home, and we come around the corner of this country road where there was a softball field and another barn where it was like a recreation center for the parks and recs. And we come around the field, and there was this object, jet black object in a triangle shaped. The whole bottom of it lit up the whole baseball field with this soft reddish, almost glowing light. Okay, um, kind of like the Yahoo or the YouTube logo that you see with the little arrow on it, that kind of red. It just glowed up the whole thing, but the craft was stationed about 4 feet above the chain link fence around the field. So it was real low to the ground. So we got a real good look at it as we came around the corner. And as we came around the corner and the pickup truck lights hit it, we could make out detail. And unfortunately, the next thing I remember, believe it or not, was I was driving in the entrance of our driveway where we lived and pulling into my house. And the other two guys that were with me were already gone. So, we literally, and when I got home, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So, and, we were only not even 5 minutes or 10 minutes from my house when we saw the thing. So, I don't recall dropping them off at their houses, and I don't recall the drive going home. Okay, until I literally came to driving into the entrance of my driveway. And, I had, well, Jessica, she did a remote viewing on the incident and got all kinds of information and all that. I'm not going to discuss all that. But yeah, I mean, missing time and, not knowing how your buddies got dropped off at their places, and the time
Mm.
frame in between. I mean, was there a possible, you know, abduction and returning? Yeah, there could have been. I'm still not. I don't know. I'm still just. I'm there, but I'm not there. You know what I mean? And to this day, we have a lot of weird things that happen in the sky around us at night. And in fact, last night we had some weird things happening right here at the house. Um, there was this bright bluish, whitish orb outside the window of my son's room. And they stay up late at night and they play video games and stuff like that. But they came out and told us, and they went outside and saw the orb shoot off over towards going towards the northwest. So I mean, we have all kinds of weird stuff happening around us every day. Um, so for us to get it off our chest it helps, okay, especially when you're talking to people that have been through the same bizarre stuff that you have been through, and you don't think that you're crazy, and you don't have to worry about people laughing behind your back and stuff, because this stuff, it does happen. Okay, I'm not one to claim
Mhm.
that the whole UFO abduction thing is a big thing, but it does happen. Whether it's black op military doing it and disguising themselves and influencing our humanity in some way, shape, or form, or whether it is extraterrestrial life or another dimensional life. Who's to
Mhm.
say? It's not my place to say that it's true or not true. I can only
Mhm.
talk about my encounters, and then have other people talk about their encounters. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's a really the light that we saw was such an illuminating, warm, soft kind of a glow, but it encompassed all the way up, halfway up the trees, the pine trees around the field, and it stopped right at the bottom of the triangle shaped craft, and it was positioned like the pretty much like the ball field was shaped pretty much like it, so it looked like it was perfectly landing, um,
Mm.
but it just hovered there. And to this day I remember it. To this day I've got a drawing of what I saw, and with the red glow, and it's just it's almost unreal, when you think of something like that happening to you, and that's just one of hundreds of things that have happened to me over the years. And I was a young man then, so I mean, I wasn't anybody's slouch either. So I mean, I don't know if what happened or what transpired, because I don't have memories of being taken out of the truck and brought into the craft or anything like that. But I remember seeing that craft, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up driving up our driveway. So yeah,
Mm.
it was weird. It was definitely weird. Um, that's like the
Mm.
time when I was sleeping, and my mom put me into bed. It was probably about 9 o'clock at night, and when you're a little kid, I had you heard this before, and some of you probably have too, but I had the metal bunk beds, in my room, and I slept on a top bunk, and nobody slept down below because it was just me in my room. And I was laying there and I fell asleep, and the next thing I know, I hear my mom scream, and I can turn my head a little bit and see her, but it was kind of like looking through water, like a
Mm.
like a rain over a windshield, that kind of a look. And my next thing I know, my dad came running in, and he grabbed me, and apparently I was literally like, here's the ceiling, and my body was literally up against the ceiling, floating off the top of the mattress. And my dad grabbed me and he pulled me back down to the mattress, and he held on to me for what seemed to be forever, but was probably only a couple minutes, until whatever force had me released me. You know, and I don't know if that was you know paranormal, because at that time we had a lot of weird supernatural stuff happening. We had the Grim Reaper in our house. We had the shadow people. We had orbs. We had all kinds of stuff. We even had the devil in our house at one time. So, and that's a whole nother story. But you know, we go through things, especially when we're children, and you try to tell the adults, you need to believe me, mom and dad, or you need to believe me, aunt or uncle, or big brother or big sister. You need to believe what I'm saying, and nobody believes you when you're a child. you know Nobody. And that's the most letdown you could ever do to a child, is not believing what they're saying, what comes out of their mouth. You know, that's saying that you just don't believe her. So to me, that's just
Yeah.
that's a horrible thing to do. But
Hmm.
yeah, if anybody else if anybody else has anything they want to discuss or stuff, here's the link. Eric and I can give you a
Yeah.
number, and you can come on and tell your story, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Yeah. I sent the link in there because I told Vaughn he's number one. But he put it in the comments here. He goes, I'm in a road to find my spirit animal. Sometime I see a small, shady thing walking. I just see it in the corner of my eye. Is that following me? My spirit animal is one part of his question.
All right.
Um,
Is that
so
your
was you in a
spirit animal
dream?
following you? I don't. That's yeah. That's what I'd want to know.
We need, yeah, because I need, is that in a dream or were you seeing that in reality? Because a lot of that could play into what that is. He's wanting to know, is it stalking me or something? Yeah, just need a little bit more info on that, bro. Reality. Okay. Man, if that's reality, I'm going to lean more towards that's something supernatural following you or paranormal. When you wake up or when you're awake, man, I don't
Well,
know
what
about
does he
you, brother.
what does Vaughn believe? What does Vaughn believe his spirit animal
Yeah.
is? That's the one thing that because we have, as native people here, indigenous people here in North America, we believe that we could have multiple spirit animals. They're even called
Mm-hmm.
totem animals. So I would ask him that first, and then go into the whole what else could be.
Yeah, it's just the shady thing walking is what really sticks out to me. That one right there. It's a small shady thing
Mm-hmm.
walking, and that's why, for me, that's why I was like,
A wolverine,
a
a cat,
Wolverine,
and a raven. Hmm. Very well could be your spirit animal. Um, Especially a cat or a wolverine. Ravens, when you see a raven in spirit, you're going to see a spirit, where it's going to be a shadow form or a cloud form in the sky, or a raven feather will be given to you and gifted to you. Um, so I wouldn't believe that it's a raven. Or it very well could even be a little person. We as indigenous people believe in little people all the time, and there are different ones. There's not just one type of little person. There are multiple entities that can be described as little people. So,
Okay. Michelle, we'll get you on here in just a second. I see you're backstage. Um, Another question I have for you, so don't take this the wrong way. How do you know these are your spirit animals? Stop to look at me and talk pew pew to me. What leads you to believe the Wolverine, the cat, and the Raven were your spirit animals? Is this something that came to you in a dream, or is this something how you feel? I'm kind of curious on that. You just stood there for like 10 minutes. Hmm.
hmm. And they're messing with our video feed.
In in your gut. Okay. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean that could be your spirit animals following you, or something else too. But what did the feeling feel like when it was following you? What was the air like around you? I told people that's for sure. What was the energy like in the air? What did your gut tell you? I guess is a good way to put it. Basically, is
Was
how
it
did it feel?
positive?
Light.
Was it a positive energy, a
Okay.
negative feeling?
Light, not heavy. Okay. So yeah, I mean that would lean more towards probably being one of your spirit animals. I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, positive. Okay. Yeah, they could be watching you, looking out for you, or when that happens, remember to do this. Just like when an animal visits you, do this same thing. When that happens again, say thank you for coming to see me. If you have a message for me, please deliver it to me in a dream in a language that I understand. Ooh, that was a good thunder. Um, because sometimes they could be trying to give you a message, but we forgot how to speak their language. So by telling them that, you now
Uh,
give them a point of where they can deliver the message to you and you can understand it.
Right. Let's
That
go
was
ahead and
good.
bring Michelle in.
Yep. Hey, Michelle. Oh, or let me.
And
For some
Hello.
reason, there we go. Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi.
How's everybody
how
doing
are you
today?
doing, Michelle?
I'm good. I'm good. Just running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to get things ready for
We're
Easter.
doing good.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank
Yep.
you for allowing me to talk. Um,
No worries.
I just have a few. Well, I have a lifetime of incidences, but I'm not going to go through all that. I just I've seen um just see people that have passed to the other side and have just had knowings about things and
Mhm.
start. I mean, I can remember stuff when I was a kid, when I was like 3 or 4, and off worlders, encounters. And I remember them seeing them in my home,
Mm-hmm.
and I would leave out of my house when I was like 3 or 4, go in the backyard, and the next thing I remember, I'd be in my bed, waking up the next morning. But there's,
Hmm.
yeah, I know. uh, that happened at my house where we lived on Front Street, and then when we moved to Meadowview, and even when I was in college. And I remember one
Hmm.
incident when the little Grays came into my bedroom at college and pulled me through the wall onto the ship. And I remember seeing the tall Grays on either side of me, and then I saw the reptilians up against the wall, and and the tall Grays had this long metal instrument, and it had like a light at the end, and it went in my forehead. And then the next thing, it hurt when I initially went in, and then, I couldn't get up, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. And then the next thing I remember was
Mhm.
waking up in my bed the next morning. That
Hmm.
that that
Yeah,
that's always bothered
it
me.
sounds to me like you definitely have a history of being taken or at least studied.
I know,
Mhm.
but I'm just like, what the hell, man? But I've had ships up here in the sky above my house. Just you could see the lights, and I did the kind of like the CE5 interactions, and but they wouldn't stay
Mm-hmm.
long. They would only answer a couple questions. But then when I wanted to ask other certain questions, you have to ask closed-ended questions. Then they would just leave. I'm like, what the, you know, answer
Hmm.
me. But anyway, I've had a ship follow me. It looked like it was a black, seamless, just silvery like little ship. There was no seams on it, right? And it was
Mhm.
probably big as a
Hmm.
bus. It wasn't like a
Right.
big one. It was like one of those little transporter ones, I guess you can say. And it followed me to work above the treetops. And I guess they didn't realize I saw the ship there. I'm like, what the hell? And I dropped my phone, of course, went right into the floorboard, pissed me off. I'm like, damn. And I couldn't reach for it. And I felt like if
Mm-hmm.
I stopped, it would fly off. And I kept looking and watching it and trying to stay on the
Mm-hmm.
road, and it paced me. It paced me. I was doing like 45 miles an hour going to my
Hmm.
work that morning. And
Yeah.
dawn had not occurred. It was just like the sky was like purple and pinks and stuff, and it was still kind of dark blue. So it wasn't, the sun hadn't rose at that
Hmm.
moment. So yeah, I know, and it was just they were following me. I could see it though.
Well, let me.
It
Can
they
I
told
ask you
me,
this, Michelle? Can I ask
yes,
you
sir,
this?
yes,
Let me. Um, when you had when you were returned at any time, do you recall having like nosebleeds or a body ache or nausea or some kind of physical complication? or even like a scar, maybe, or a mark on your body that might have not been there before?
No, no, sir.
Hmm.
No, I don't. I mean, whatever
Okay.
they did, they put it in my forehead. I don't know what that. I mean, there's no scar there or anything. So I
So
don't know. I know. I mean, I mean, I can't look behind. I mean, I can't look behind my ears or anything, but I felt behind my ears and looked for everything, and use that UV light
Right.
trying to find something on my body. I've not found anything.
hmm.
Right. You know,
um,
when I was going
so
through my first cancer treatments and stuff, I had the doctors, the surgeons actually, they had me scheduled to do biopsies, and they kept on doing biopsies on me, and I kept on asking them, why were they doing biopsies on me? And the one surgeon told me flat out that they were trying to remove something from me that kept on moving. And
hmm.
it
Oh wow.
almost he almost described it as like a small capsule, looking thing, like a regular capsule, like medication that was in my body, in my muscular tissue, and it was moving every time they'd go to take the biopsy of it to remove it. It would move away from it. So,
Wow.
I
Hmm.
don't know if that has something to do with when I was taken, or it was another encounter. But yeah, sometimes we don't realize these things are in us, and
Yeah.
just by a fluke, the surgeon told me that I had that in me, and they were trying to remove it. And I've literally got like bullet holes all around my stomach and my waist and stuff because of where they were trying to remove this thing, and it kept on moving. And it literally looks like
Oh
I got shot up with a machine gun. So yeah, but yeah, that's why I asked that question. It's what kind of emotional state were you in when you were returned? Was it a sad, or were you excited,
yeah.
or just nervous, or
I was just
That's
kind of like
both, my man.
nervous and like I was just like kind of like in a I guess shocked state. Didn't know how to react. Didn't know how to feel. I was just like kind of like a blank. It was just blank. I'm like,
hmm,
what happened? What occurred? What did they do? But I mean,
right,
I was
exactly,
kind of like scared when I saw them come through the door, through the wall, through the door to come get me. And I mean, I was scared. I was frozen in fear. I could not move. And I was like, oh God, oh God. And it was like
right,
6 or 7 of those little gray things. And they all
Hmm.
surrounded me. And it's like they didn't touch me, but I was just lifted up and floated. And I went through the wall. You could see the light shining through the wall into the bedroom. And for some reason, they wanted me to
hmm,
remember that incident, that event. But I
right,
felt like I could see the creatures or the off orders, the Greys and the Reptilians, like they were on my right side, but there was one here on my left that I really couldn't see, except for the one to
right,
my right and the one at my head. But the one to my left, excuse me, my left, I couldn't see. I could see the ones on my right and to my head, but then I felt like there was other beings to the right that I could not see. It's like they didn't want me to
right.
see them. But I was just like, I was like scared, but then I wasn't scared. It's like they were trying to make me feel calm. But when I saw that ship follow me to work, I kept looking at it and I'm like, wow, look at this ship. And they were telling me in my head, you don't see us. And like, what are you talking about? I'm looking right at you. And they kept saying,
Hmm,
you don't see us. And I'm like, I'm looking at you. You can't control me. I'm seeing you. I'm watching you. And they followed me to my work. But then, right before I got to my workplace where I had to turn off, it's like they just disappeared.
hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't.
that's that's not unusual. That that kind of following or tracking somebody, that's been reported hundreds of times, being tracked that way, and
Yeah,
being
well, they,
followed. And it's almost like they're waiting for the opportune time to nab you again. Basically, is the way I feel. You know.
well, that happened like 7 years ago or something like that, and I've not seen them since. I've not seen a ship like that since. But with that being said, we did when I was had to take my son to have dental surgery. My mom and I were in the car and we were driving, and it was like a busy thoroughfare and on the interstate, and it's like it was above where the neighborhood where I was at, and I kept and it followed us. I said, "Mom, that's a ship. It's following us." And she's like, "Oh no, it's not. Just pay attention, watch the road." And and it followed us all the way to the hospital that was like 45 minutes away, where we had to take my son because he was having dental surgery,
Hmm.
and it followed us.
Wow.
And I've not, I mean, I've not seen anything else. I mean, I don't know.
Has your other family members been affected by this? Have they had encounters like this?
No, my dad was someone who was in the Navy. They saw ships when he was at sea, extraterrestrial
Yeah.
ships, and that's what he said. No one else in
Hmm.
my family has said that they've seen anything or experienced anything.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
That's just
So
Did
weird.
you?
obviously they were probably coming for you then. I was thinking maybe the children were being affected by it, by some way, shape, or form. But go ahead, Eric. What did you want to ask?
So, can you remember the smells, the sounds, the feels of that stuff?
When I was on the ship,
Yeah.
I just knew I don't know. The air smelled different though. It didn't smell like normal. It was like I could breathe, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It just didn't smell normal. And the
Hmm.
coldness of the table. I mean, it was cold. It wasn't like a normal metal table. It was fluid like. I mean, it was metal, but it was just I don't know how to describe it. That's all I can remember. But I don't remember feeling anything
Hmm.
else or see or you know sensing anything else.
Okay.
The
Ursa wants to
grays
know:
though.
did you
Well, you're
see?
not alone, that's for sure.
I mean, I'm not. I don't think I was dreaming this. Now I don't know. I mean, with
Yeah.
everything that's happened,
Uh,
I'm like, nah, yeah.
Ursa
So
wants to
and
know: did you
No,
see
you're
the
not dreaming.
elongated headed grays? Their usual one in charge of the grays. So were the grays seen it? Did they have the elongated, extended skull? I can't speak today. Hillbilly's coming
yeah,
out
their
too much.
heads were long and just huge, and I could see the eyes. But then it looked. I mean, I don't know. This is just weird, but it's like their eyes look big, but then they look small. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, almost like
And
they're resetting what they want you to see.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's like the reptilians in the back. That's what shocked me. I'm like, I remember they're up against the wall. It's like they were just there like sentries, and they were just observing. But no emotion, nothing. They just looked straight ahead. They didn't even make eye contact with me. They it's like they were there, but no emotion, nothing. Just standing there up against the wall. Like I don't know how to describe it. No eye contact at all. And
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
grays
Kind of like
though,
standing guard.
yeah. I'm like, why were they standing guard for me? I mean, what I'm just 5 foot little petite woman, you know? I mean, I just,
Ursula wants to know: did it smell
Mm.
like burnt cinnamon,
Well, that
or
goes back to what I've always said,
what?
that maybe it's something in us that actually gives us a certain strength that they fear. There's something that about us that they know that if we wake up that part of our memory, that we could actually probably fight back even better than what we can right now.
yeah, that
So that's probably what I would gather from that.
could,
So, but yeah, you're
yeah,
definitely not alone in your experiences, Michelle. That's for sure.
but can I bring up one other thing? I don't know how, I don't want to take up all the time
Sure.
from anybody else, but there's this one memory that I cannot get out of my head. And people are like, "Oh, you're just taking that from a movie or whatever." No, but before Avatar came out, this was back in the like in the late '90s, and I
Hmm.
knew everyone was like, "Oh, you're just making that up." No, 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 no. I knew that trees could communicate and that they
Mm-hmm.
were connected and that they hold memories and they have the ability to open up portals. I've always felt that there's certain trees
Hmm.
that are connected and they have the little tendrils that connect throughout the whole entire world. I knew that before the movie came out, and I knew that they had that certain elementals, they can use those as portals. If that makes any sense. I just knew that. Um and there's certain trees that are protected or whatever, and I think that's why they're hidden away in the national forests, and you know there are certain areas in the national forest where you cannot go, and I think that's where
Mm.
some of those trees or those structures are protected, and that we can get to. But anyway, with that being said, that's just something else. But
Yeah. Technical problems.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I had a memory of going into this valley where it's got like a stone all around it. And when you look at it from the outside, it looks like a mountain, but there's a pathway that
Hmm.
leads into the middle of this little stone valley. And in the middle of that valley, with the stone going all the way around it, that makes it look like a mountain, there's like these little like a grass green fields, and there's certain trees in there, and they have these tall stone pillars, smooth rectangular pillars going all the way around, and then like there's a table there in the middle, and there's chairs sitting in front of the table, sitting around the table. And when you're sitting at the table and you look up, you can see space up above, but
Hmm.
Right.
that's the only way we can see it. And then there's certain trees there that are protected, and it's like two or three trees, and they have like pink and white blossoms, and I keep hearing the word watchers, and that's it.
Hmm.
That's all I can remember.
Well,
Does that make sense?
mm,
That's
yeah,
that's it.
trees are definitely conduits for energy and stuff. So they can definitely
Yeah.
be used for portals and stuff. Even the druids believed that when you knocked on the tree, you could call forth the elemental out of it to ask them either a question or ask them to.
You can. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yeah, we're getting it's breaking up on us real
Yeah.
bad.
There you are. Yeah, I didn't know if it was me because I got storms rolling in or what.
Yeah, they
But
didn't want
there
us to
she,
communicate anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
What were you
it's
saying
okay,
about
Michelle.
that?
I was saying that when it comes to trees, that
Dang, every time you see
they
trees,
are
it
kind of
loses
like
you.
a conduit. Uh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that this conversation.
There we go.
Anyways, trees are definitely conduits to and from the spiritual world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, Ursula was wondering if that air smelled like burnt cinnamon and burnt
But
wire.
Michelle, thank you for coming on today, and we'll have you on.
I can't remember that, Eric. I can't remember that. I don't
Mhm.
remember if it was burnt or cinnamon or what. I can't
Okay.
remember.
Uh, William, can you say something again? I think we lost you again, bro. I don't even see your little icon shimmering.
Well, that's
Yep, there
okay.
you go. I see
I'll
you.
back out. I'll back out and
Okay.
let the next person
Thank
in.
you.
But I thank you. I thank you for that. I just wanted to bring that
Again.
up and see if anybody knew anything about that little memory or about the valley or whatever. But that just it's been
Yeah.
there
No.
for all my life. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. If you want, you can email me your encounter more, and I could do a video on it if you want to get it out there. I can keep you anonymous if you want to be anonymous. But man, that's a very great story. Encounter that you shared, and I'd like to know more on it. Definitely, if you're
Okay.
up to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would be
All right,
great.
all right. I'll put my email in the chat then. Thank you for sharing, though. We appreciate that greatly. We love hearing everybody else's encounters.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah.
Happy Easter, everybody.
You too, sweetheart. Did you get her figured out, Brother William? Yep, I
Yeah,
hear you creaking. Yeah.
I'm just. They are really about a very sensitive subject.
Mm-hmm. Gosh dang it. Um, they are jacking with you hard. You are in and out, in and out, in and out. While we wait to see if Brother William gets his connection figured out, has anybody else got anything to share? That didn't pop up in the deal. Wonder why it doesn't pop up my Gmail or my email whenever I type it in. Um, oh yeah, I'm telling you, the internet's been acting up bad. I thought it was me because we was having some storms moving in, but it's quiet down, so that's why I opened up my curtains. I'm looking at the window because I'm watching the treetops and I'm watching the clouds. There he is. Hey, brother.
Yeah, I decided to go back in and go out
God dang it. Just doing it again.
and come back in. So, yeah, if Michelle, if you can hear me, I want warning. And it just seems like the more we talked about Michelle's encounter, the worse the technology was getting. So they definitely don't want us
Mhm.
talking about much. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, that was very interesting. I would love to have Michelle on again and talk more about her encounters.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so, Ursula, you've been commenting in here. Are you
Anybody
wanting
else want to
to?
come on? while we still are able to do this, or?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering. Urso was making a comment on her encounters. I didn't know if he had wanted to share his or not. Yeah, heck yeah. I was out on the front porch earlier. Yeah, we'll just say I was out on the front porch earlier, taking it in, trying to wake up. But clouds have slowed down here. But I'm thinking the storm's probably bypassed me because it's just quiet down here.
I'm Eric.
They've seemed to slow down.
Why don't we figure out is anybody going to come on next about what we were talking about before about the giants and all that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, you glitched out and then a bunch of words came at one time. Yeah. You wanting to play that video? Thank you, Urso. I lost Brother William again. So Brother William got a video he's wanting to share. I'll go ahead and play it while we're waiting on his internet to get fixed. This is about 2 minutes and 40 seconds long, this first one. And it takes place down in South America. So I'm going to play that. While it's playing, I've got to make a mad dash to get some coffee real quick. So hopefully William's internet will get fixed by the time this is done. Here we go.
We've seen redonkulous things, right? So we go down to Chiapas, Mexico. We're rescuing kids down there. I mentioned that one that portaled through Zoom from Chiapas, right? So there's all kinds of next level demonic witchcraft, next level witchcraft down there. So things that manifest, you go, whoa, what is that? I never even heard of like a hybrid spider type person. And that's why all these kids say, man, she looks like a spider. She has many arms. Well, of course, if you go into India, you got all kinds of gods and deities that have multiple arms. The largest Mayan pyramid on the planet Earth is in Chiapas. We are rescuing children in the shadow of that thing. You can literally see the pyramid from my ranch.
Wow. From your ranch?
Yeah. We have a redemption ranch there.
Wow.
And again, we bought turf. We bought physical dirt. We brought in a ministry that's been there for 9 generations. We turned the whole thing over there so that we would have authority within that region. Okay. You don't just come in there swinging the American flag. You come in there in the authority of the kingdom, and you need to know how to operate in authority. So with all that said, we did all this. And at our hotel, there's this big giant rock that has a giant footprint in it. And it's monstrous. I went down there with Brian Schwartz. He's an NFL football player. He wears a size 17 shoe. Okay. This thing was twice the size of his shoe. I hear that you guys got giants down here. And they're like, yeah, we do. And like, okay, well, would they come up out of the ground? Or they're like, yeah, they live in the ground. And they're like, but that's not as scary as the ones that come out of the sky. And I'm like, the ones that come out of the sky? And they said, yes. And they come down and they look like stars and constellations, and they manifest into what look like people. And they threaten us if we don't give them things.
Wow.
So it's like, I know that there's a species of angels that's called the host of heaven. The host of heaven is the constellations. So you can see that whenever Jesus was born, that the shepherds are out in the field, the angels came down as the host of heaven. Well, they were used to seeing those constellations every single night, and they were used to seeing Virgo, the virgin, a clump of stars that is a virgin that has a seed in her, which is impossible. And then from there, Libra, he's going to be a redeemer. From there, Scorpio, he's going to take on death. From there, Sagittarius, he's going to raise from the dead. And it ends at the line of the tribe of Judah, Leo, which is the ecliptic. And so I'm into all that, right? They knew the story in the heavens. The angels that showed up were as those constellations. They're also known as the stars of God. They're also known as the stars. I can guarantee you some of those have fallen. Some of those have rebelled. And they show up down there. The stars come down, they manifest, and all kinds of craziness happens.
You're muted, brother.
What do you think about
There you
that, folks?
That's an interesting deal. Hey, Bounty.
Bounty.
Marty says, see,
Hey, Marty.
who's Erica, Roxanne?
Man, they're really messing with the internet today. They
Yeah.
are really messing with us today, guys.
You want me to play it again?
Yeah,
There's
would you
one where he
please?
tells about. Yep. I caught Roxanne. Give me a second. Let me get in there.
We've
Here we
seen
go.
redonkulous things, right? So we go down to Chiapas, Mexico. We're rescuing kids down there. I mentioned that one that portaled through Zoom from Chiapas,
Yeah.
right? So there's all kinds of next level demonic witchcraft, next level witchcraft down there. So things that manifest, you go, whoa, what is that? I never even heard of like a hybrid spider type person, and that's why all these kids say, you know, man, she looks like a spider. She has many arms. Well, of course, if you go into India, you know, you got all kinds of gods and deities that have multiple arms. The largest Mayan pyramid on the planet Earth is in Chiapas. We are rescuing children in the shadow of that thing. You can literally see the pyramid from my ranch.
Wow. From your ranch?
Yeah, we have a redemption ranch there.
Wow.
And so, and again, we bought turf. We bought physical dirt. We brought in a ministry that's been there for 9 generations. We turned the whole thing over there so that we would have authority within that region. Okay. You don't just come in there swinging the American flag. You come in there in the authority of the kingdom, and you need to know how to operate in authority. So with all that said, we did all this. And at our hotel, there's this big giant rock that has a giant footprint in it. And it's monstrous. I went down there with Brian Schwartz. He's an NFL football player. He wears a size 17 shoe. Okay. This thing was twice the size of his shoe. I hear that you guys got giants down here. And they're like, yeah, we do. And like, okay, well, would they come up out of the ground? Or are they going to, like, yeah, they live in the ground. And they're like, but that's not as scary as the ones that come out of the sky. And I'm like, the ones that come out of the sky, and they said yes, and they come down and they look like stars and constellations, and they manifest into what look like people, and they threaten us if we don't give them things.
Wow.
So it's like, I know that there's a species of angels that's called the host of heaven. The host of heaven is the constellations. So you can see that whenever Jesus was born, that the shepherds are out in the field, the angels came down as the host of heaven. Well, they were used to seeing those constellations every single night, you know, and they were used to seeing Virgo, the virgin, a clump of stars that is a virgin that has a seed in her, which is impossible. And then from there, Libra, he's going to be a redeemer. From there, Scorpio, he's going to take on death. From there, Sagittarius, he's going to raise from the dead. And it ends at the line of the tribe of Judah, Leo, which is the ecliptic. And so I'm into all that, right? They knew the story in the heavens. The angels that showed up were as those constellations. They're also known as the stars of God. They're also known as the stars. I can guarantee you some of those have fallen. Some of those have rebelled. And they show up down there. The stars come down, they manifest, and all kinds of craziness happens.
Dang.
Right. Here's the footprint that he was talking about. Just so you know, this is the actual footprint.
That's a big boy. Judging by that, not knowing his size of his foot, that would put the one that left that footprint roughly 40 foot tall, give or take.
That'd be my guess, 30 to 40, which would be angelic height.
Yep.
So, you know, when we talk about the waters of heaven and how the multiple layers of heaven that I've been talking about in previous podcasts, you know, that we need to understand that there is multiple layers, multiple, whatever you want to call them, multiple dimensions, multiple layers, parallel worlds, whatever you want to call them, it's set up just like this. These are all the layers of heaven, okay, until you get to the throne of the creator at the outer edge of the realm, all right? So where he's talking about, you see where it has the sun and the moon in between the orange and the yellow, okay? That proves that those planetary bodies are not billions of light years away. They're more centralized than we know. Talking about, okay, that is, you know, just above us, say, oh, let's say 10 miles above us is the second level, okay? Then you got the third level, and then you've got, the so on and so on and so on. The angels are in the top two below the throne of where they're waiting. That's the armies of God. That's the 72,000 angels that are waiting for God's word to basically return and fight for, the rights of his children, okay, in this realm against Lucifer and the darkness, okay? So we need to when we're talking about these, whether it's dimensions or other levels, we got to realize that this is the biblical description of the way our world is. And whenever I talk about the supernatural and stuff that we can't see, because we all know we can't see everything, okay? This is the extent of us. We as humans can only see between 430 and 770 terahertz. Our ears can only detect sound between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. Okay. On the spectrum of visual and audio abilities, we are 0.0035% of the ability. We're not even a half a percent. Okay. We're not even a quarter of percent. We are so minute on that scale of knowing what is happening around us every single minute of the day that's why we see things out of our peripheral vision. That's why we hear things, or we experience these oddities in our lives, is because we are so limited on our abilities currently to experience seeing these things and hearing these things all the time, because we're on that minute part of the scale. Okay. So there is all this stuff happening around us. People talk about the booms, the sonic booms and stuff that they're hearing, or the trumpets, the trumpet sounds that they're hearing, or it sounds like somebody dragging a metal desk across the concrete floor, that kind of a sound. These are all sounds that we typically probably wouldn't be able to hear unless the creator wants us to hear them, because he wants us to know that these battles are going on all around us 24/7. We just don't see it and we don't hear it. Okay. So this is why I wanted to talk about this today, along with other things. But when it comes to dealing with giants, and the Nephilim and the angels, the fallen ones, this goes so deep, and there's so much out there that people don't talk about because they're afraid they're going to be deemed crazy. And we're not crazy. When we experience things, we experience things. Okay. We're literally a petri dish here. Okay, that's what we are. We are a cosmic zoo. Okay, and that's all we're ever going to be here. I believe fully that the Garden of Eden was set up to be a cosmic zoo, study and development, you know, R&D, research and development, see how far we can take humanity, see how low we can make humanity, see how we can control humanity, see what makes them grow spiritually, see what makes them grow negatively. I mean, we are being treated like a science project, and that's just my belief in it. Okay, and there, like I said, there is just so much we as human beings we cannot see and hear unless we're gifted. And I see and hear. You guys know I see and hear a lot every day. Okay, I experience a lot every day, and you know I'm not sure what scale I'm on, but I can guarantee what I see and experience every day is just a certain small percentage of what is actually happening. So, and that's just me, okay? So I wanted to put that out there to everybody, um, and let everybody know that when we're dealing with giants and stuff, we're not just talking Bigfoot, okay? We're not just talking, chimeras. We're talking beings that have existed since before humanity. Okay, we're talking beings that have been here for quite some time. You know, we're talking beings that have left their mark upon this world periodically, maybe on purpose, maybe not. But we are being directed and we are being guided by unforeseen forces that are trying to manipulate us every step of the way, whether it's supernatural or whether it's cryptid or whether it's UFO related or even mythologically related. Maybe it is a vampiric race of reptilians, maybe it is. Okay, we wouldn't have burial sites like this if vampiric entities weren't real at some point in time. Okay, and we know that from watching and learning that whenever things need covered up, these are the ones that show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all related. It's all linked together. The lights in the sky. This is a picture of one that I took last week, I believe, at night. This is what we're seeing. And until we can gain those abilities back to see more and hear more, we're going to struggle with this trying to figure it out. But I can guarantee you, everybody, that it's all linked at one point in time all together. And Eric and I have already proved that several times from past podcasts. And, we just need to wake up.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we try to do. Sounds like they quit messing with your internet. It's good. You need to pick up on that one. So, I'm giving Roxanne hell in the chat. Roxanne had something interesting happen to her last night with a pencil that moved on its own. Yeah, I mean, I've done that with my own self, and then I've had stuff like that happen. I mean, a lot of times it's either your own energy doing that, or it's a specter doing that.
Right, exactly. I'm having all kinds of lights around me right now in here.
Well, they stopped jacking with your internet, so that's a good thing. I just looked. While you was talking, I had to look at the radar. Looks like the storms are swirling around me, going around me. So I thought so by the way they're acting earlier. It looks like I'm going to get missed by them storms.
Yeah. Well, I just, wanted to give everybody the opportunity to come on and, and tell their encounters and stuff. So, it would help them to get it off their chest and stuff, and know that there are other people that go through the same thing, if not the same thing, pretty similar, and that,
Yeah.
they're not alone, in having these encounters and experiencing these things. So if anybody else wants to come on for about 10 minutes and tell their encounter, they're more than welcome to.
That's what I was kind of wondering, Roxanne. I was kind of wondering that. Yeah, I had a feeling that was probably who it was. But I'll put the link to the show in the chat again. If anybody else wants to come on and share, uh, hit that link. Let's get you in here.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes. We can actually have them come on and talk. So,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is very, very real. That's why I do what I do. It's why William does what we do, not just because of what we experience, but what you guys have experienced too. And we've all had similar experiences or little different. I mean, not every experience is always going to be the same. Um, that's just um, sadly that's just how it is. I want to know what the star in the sky are that move towards you. I have one do that to me the last time I was in North Carolina. I told it to leave me alone and it went back into the sky. Interesting.
those are the
Huh.
fallen. There are some that
Could be.
are angelic still and connected to the creator, and there are some that are considered the fallen angels. So you can experience, they can come down and manifest themselves in a supernatural human form, where they appear to be, um, you know almost human looking, but they're probably going to be anywhere from 20 to 40 to 60 feet tall, depending on,
Mm-hmm.
their abilities and stuff. So I'm a firm believer that that's what we're experiencing. And when you have
Oh crap! Did we lose you
indigenous
again?
people down, yeah, well, they're putting it to me. That's for sure. They're putting it to me. But I do believe that they are manifesting in some kind of a form, and they are using their abilities to intimidate humanity that they come down and encounter. So I think
Yeah.
that we as children of the creator, we have the innate ability to tell them to go away, and they have to obey us, because it's that angelic, that divine energy, that is that spark that is within us, that protects us. And when we
Mm-hmm.
develop that divine spark and we make it stronger, then we have more power to control the forces that be.
Okay. We have Bounty backstage. Everybody, welcome
All right,
Bounty
Bear.
to the show.
Hello.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
This angel stuff. Oh boy. Okay.
How we doing, Bear?
Oh, it's been rough. We're good though. We're good. But there's an angel. I know this sounds crazy, but it's the only thing it can be. There's an angel that is on the other side of the world that is standing there with his sword, and the hilt of his sword comes up to like where above our belly button. That's how tall the sword is. He's just standing, but he's guarding. Sorry.
It's okay.
He's guarding.
What do you think he's guarding?
He's guarding four. He said he's guarding four chained ones that are down below his feet in front of him. And well, when I first went there, he sucked me in. At first, I thought he was like, it's this mauvish, purplish color. But I realized on like the third trip, he pulls me in like the mauvish, purplish colored orb to him. Or maybe that's my aura when I'm traveling. I don't know. I can't figure that part out yet. But I figured out that it's not his color. Maybe it's the thing he pulls me there in, or maybe that's my color in spirit. I don't know yet. Anyway, that's not the important part. He looks down. It's whenever I get very stressed or upset with humanity, or because of all the war, people need to just quit. And I know he's guarding something at his feet, and I could hear the chains rattle. And there is this video online, this little snippet of sounds that they say comes from underground over there. It's supposed to be them talking. At first I thought, well, okay, people are, because this is the internet. But there's something in one of the videos. There's a couple of them out there, a couple versions, but there's one in the original that first came out. There's like a sound behind the sound. And I don't know if that might be actually real, because it's kind of like once you've heard Hairy Man talk to you, you know what it is. And I know people don't believe, but that's cool. It's all right. It comes with this extra little sensation that just kind of vibrates through your whole body. And that sound is what came from underground. Now, could that be a faked video? Yeah. Okay. But if that's real, and if that's what's under there, when I was sitting on his shoulder, it sounded very, very similar.
Yeah,
but I was
that's
also
the frequency.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then. And then he also has something.
Yeah, that's definitely the frequency.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is something we've covered here quite often, because they use that, and that's a type of communication, especially if you can't understand a language. They can try to communicate to you by frequency, either A, to warn you off, or B, to calm you down, or C, to try and say something to you, which, goes back to what I was saying earlier. When that happens, say, thank you for visiting me. Please, if you have a message for me, deliver it to me in a dream in a language that I understand, because that could be what he's trying to do.
Okay. And I know he's guarding like a portal or a something behind his back. It's not attached to it's not in this realm, world, whatever. It leads someplace else. And he's very, when I first went to him, his head was clear. It wasn't even in the earth bubble, I guess is how to say it. I was sitting on his shoulder. I was looking at what I thought was our galaxy. But then he sucked it was like kind of watching a movie, and he sucked it clear in. And I saw then I recognized our galaxy, because I started realizing it wasn't ours. I'm like, where am I? And then he shrunk down to where his head was, it was still higher than the clouds, but he brought his shoulders down below cloud level where I could see the ground, because I was starting to get worried. What am I doing? Because I've been out of my body before and I had a hard time finding my way back. I think I started panicking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened, because he shrunk down to where I could realize familiar things. And I noticed, and I was looking down, and the people down on the ground by his feet looked like ants. And it was very, he just was very like, I hope they get this together type of a feeling. He didn't say anything. And then he just put his head back up and was just watching. And I just sat there and watched, and I asked him what he was doing. And he said he's just watching and waiting patiently, and that's what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed when
Sounds like you experienced one of the angels that is the angels that are posted in certain positions around our world to kind of guard us and keep basically certain entities away from us,
yes,
from experiencing us. It also could be the fact too that they're actually holding the four horsemen um, from being released too soon.
I
So
think
I mean,
that's
it could be a
what it
couple
is.
different things.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm a firm believer that that's a legitimate thing. That is experiencing something like that is definitely a gift. Let's put it that way, because most people don't see that kind of supernatural stuff around us, and it exists, and I don't know how else to say it. It does exist, and
it,
I
yeah,
deal with it every day, guys, and it's just I don't know how much more I can say, and that it does exist, and sometimes it's scary, and sometimes it's very very divine, but it does exist, and the sooner that humanity wakes up and realizes that, the better off we're going to be.
yeah, because he's pretty. He's very like, he has emotions, but they're different than ours. They're
Stoic.
very, yes. It's very. I felt very fortunate that I was with him, and he just made everything better without even really saying anything. Now it's to the point where when I start to get way overstressed and I start crying too much, or I will end up on his shoulder, and he just looks over at me and then puts his head back and just stands there, and it's comfort thing now. Um, but I
Mm-hmm.
do know that more of them
That's
have
that
woken up.
divine
They're all
energy.
awake. They're all awake now. Even the ones under the water, but in the heavy water. I know this sounds crazy. In the heavy water, under the water, I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything,
I know exactly what you
everything.
mean.
Okay, everything that was asleep is now awake.
Well, that's interesting you
Exactly.
say that because I have people behind the scenes that I get a lot of information from, and they're all saying that soon everything is going to be released and the truth is going to be told.
Yes,
That things are happening, and that's very interesting you say that because that follows along the lines of what they're saying. They're going to bring out the truth about aliens, UFOs, and all this other stuff. That a certain individual that's been fighting to help get this stuff done um, is got everything lining up. He's lining everything up for this, and it will be coming out very soon.
yeah. I try
Yeah.
not to cry because I know so many. Oh my God, so many people. Sorry.
Mhm. No, you're fine.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all right. That's what we're here for. That's why we discuss these things. And a lot of times, people, don't not seem to understand because they're not open enough to see it yet. But eventually they will be. Trust me. There's going to be a very rude awakening coming to a lot of humanity, a lot of humanity. So I would definitely keep everybody in your prayers and your blessings, and let's just go from there. So, Bear, thank you for coming on, dear. I appreciate that, and we'll definitely have you on again. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out
That
what
just
excited
confirms
Butch
everything. It really does. Yeah. What about the question?
He goes, "Is that the basis of fear?" So I'm trying to figure out what his question is towards before we answer it, because I'm not sure. It's good to see you in here, excited. I just want to make sure we answer your question properly. So that's why I'm kind of wondering what you mean that question towards, bud.
Let's see. How far back can I go to find out?
But there's so much stuff going on between what we're talking about and what people are talking about in the chat. I don't want to get the question wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to
So that's why I
misconstrue
just
it.
yeah, that's why I just need a little bit more clarification on that. But it's good to have you in here.
Yeah. Bounty, don't worry about it. That's emotions are all a part of humanity, so don't worry about that. So that's not a problem.
No, I mean my butt
Well,
did it earlier.
and Van, that goes on to what we talked about before with how they control humanity is through fear. So yeah, that's definitely a connection. But we've talked about that 100 times, how they control humanity through fear. That's why that's why if you don't show fear, you don't have to really be bothered with too much of that aspect of this life. Um, but it is hard. It's hard to control that aspect because with fear comes a lot of emotion, comes sadness, comes sorrow, comes dread, comes other thoughts and stuff, envy, greed. I mean, that's all part of fear. So for humanity to work as a whole to control it would have to be really, really something profound to get that to happen. And that's what all the great teachers have tried to teach us throughout the time frame, and all the missing books and stuff, and even the Emerald tablets and stuff like that. They've tried to teach us that humanity that, but we don't have that ability yet as a whole body of people to come together and control certain aspects of our emotion. So, but that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here. We're on the 2 hour mark, and I'm getting really, really exhausted and getting really, really strange feelings. Let's put it that way. So I'm gonna have to call it quits for today. But Eric, you want to explain what you got going on today, if anything, and we'll see each other again Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Heck yeah. Tonight we're going to go over the Nordics, the alien race called the Nordics. I'm kind of curious about these things. Not knowing what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, fear can be used for many things. In the military, we learn to turn fear to our advantage. But we also use fear to take advantage over other people. So yeah, fear is something that's can be both helpful or harmful. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the alien race called the Nordics tonight on my show because I'm curious about these things. I've been hearing a lot of them, and come to find out, I've heard about them for longer. Just didn't realize what they're called before they were called Nordics. So we're going to dive into that together tonight. Try to get some answers. Together on the show tonight. it's curious. I'm curious about them. They do fit a lot of things that I find interesting and that I've always wondered and believed, and it seems like that's pretty close to what they are. And just a little bit of hint, it kind of talks about what we talked about today. So that will be tonight. I
Right.
am working on finishing a short story to be released on my Patreon for next Friday, and I'm also working on Brotherhood of the Wolf and Axe, Hounds of Death. So that's what I got going on. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I want to thank all the mods and stuff, and I want to wish everybody another a happy Easter today. I hope you have the rest great of the rest of your Sunday. Spend it with those that you love and care about, and we will see everybody again Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for Into the Red Rabbit Hole, and we'll see what kind of subject matter we can get in with that. See what kind of trouble we can kick up, and see what they can mess with our technology again. So as today. So, but thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate everybody. You're all family. This is again a safe place for everybody to come. And everybody just have a great rest of your Easter Sunday. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Peace, love, and blessings, everyone.